bait show out there. We've got 4 creators in the ring tonight. Only one will come out. Gentlemen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Right. We got Anthony, OJ, Matt, and Jay. Gentlemen, this weekend is the Super Bowl. I'm sure you're more than aware. There's a lot of stars playing in this game. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, the young guns for the Bengals. We've got 2 young coaches in Zach Taylor and Sean McVay. And the Rams are loaded. Stafford, Donald, Ramsey, Miller. Who individually is this Super Bowl most important for? Matt, start us off.
So to me, this one's going to be most important to the quarterback of the Rams if the Rams are to win. When you look at how quarterbacks are judged, Super Bowls have become such a huge thing to how we look at quarterbacks, similar to star players in the NBA. Now, you could say Donald or Ramsey, maybe because they're pretty much locks to be Hall of Famer, and that's going to mean so much. But I'm going with Matthew Stafford. Now, I was having a debate earlier this week, and if Matthew Stafford wins this year, do we put him ahead of Big Ben? Now, that's another question, but we're going to start having those questions if he wins. And all of a sudden, we're going to start moving him up. We're going to start talking about, was Matthew Stafford a better winner than Aaron Rodgers? Because he barely made it to the playoffs and he ended up winning all these games. I'm not saying I believe these things, but I'm saying that those are the discussions that we're inevitably going to have if Matthew Stafford wins it. So to me, Matthew Stafford has the most to win in this game.
You walked a fine line there, Matt, but I can hear what you're saying. OJ.
So I'm going to agree with Matt, but for different reasons. When I hear the question, who is this most important for, I interpret it as whose legacy will this impact the most? And so if I interpret it that way, to me, Matthew Stafford's career, the narrative behind it, his reputation is the lowest out of all the guys that you named, right? I mean, you can make a case for maybe OBJ, but the narrative around Matthew Stafford is that all he did was lose in Detroit. All he did was choke in Detroit. He didn't accomplish everything. So because he's been scrutinized so much throughout his career, I think winning the Super Bowl will absolve him of all of that scrutiny. It'll right the ship. It'll renew his legacy. It'll renew the narrative around Matthew Stafford. For those reasons, 1,000% Matthew Stafford.
Anthony, what say you?
You know, they're not wrong. It is really important to Matthew Stafford because, listen, he's been in Detroit and he's been a loser for 12 seasons. And because the way people look at it, they're going to say recency, kind of, oh, he won a Super Bowl. He's, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then people will start to talk about him and Ben Roethlisberger and all that stuff. However, there's another person who I think is kind of, if Matthew Stafford's 1A or 1B, there's someone that neither one of these two guys brought up, because I think the Donalds, the Ramseys, those guys, it doesn't matter. If they don't win a Super Bowl, they're still going to be looked at as all-time greats. Joe Burrow's young. Jamar Chase is young. So it's actually a coach, I think, who's right up there with Stafford, and it's Sean McVay. Because if Sean McVay now goes to 2 Super Bowls with 2 different quarterbacks, his hand-picked quarterback, and loses, well, now, is the offensive genius is it good? Is he good enough to win the Super Bowl? Because that's what's going to matter on a coach's resume, even more so than a player's. Because, yes, quarterback is important to win Super Bowls, and they're judged by that. But people will say, hey, Dan Marino's a great quarterback, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl. A coach, though, that's never won a Super Bowl, that's considered the boy genius, and that might not be your guy then. So you'd have a big problem. So I think Sean McVay has the most to gain in terms of his legacy.
Jay, you look like you're upset because you might agree. What do you got to say about that?
I agree completely, and I'm upset that I didn't go before Fluent. I'm so angry about that because when we look at Sean McVay in his first Super Bowl run, he had a bunch of talent on that field, but a lot of them losing goes to Jared Goff. So if he doesn't win this year, now it's like, damn, Sean McVay, you had a better QB, you had better talent on your team, and I think Fluent missed on a lot on that point, especially. This Rams team is stacked. This Rams team has more talent than they did back then in that time when they went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. So that is the main reason why if they don't win this year, it's like, yo, Sean McVay, you got Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp is ascending, Odell Beckham is there. You got probably the best cornerback in the league right now, Aaron Donald. It's like bro, if you can't make this work, how great of a coach do we really hold you up to? Honestly, how great of a coach are you really?
We're going to stay on that point. Jay, we're going to start with you. Sean McVay is a very young coach. There's two other young coaches that have been in the conversation with him, Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan. Has Sean McVay, with his second Super Bowl appearance, simply surpassed these guys? Mind you, he's still the youngest of the three. Jay.
Yeah, I think he's a better coach than all of those guys. When you think of Kyle Shanahan, we also have to remember he was the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, and part of his game plan to fold in that league was he was a pass-happy guy when they was up 28-3, and that was part of him folding that league. He also folded a lead against the Kansas City Chiefs. We have to account for that. Like Kyle Shanahan, there is flaws in his resume as well. So Sean McVay doing what he's doing, in my opinion, Matt LaFleur, bro, let's keep it real. Like the reason why the Green Bay Packers did so well, I credit that more to who Aaron Rodgers is. Even though everybody doesn't like Aaron Rodgers like that, I credit it mainly to who Aaron Rodgers is. So Sean McVay is the guy who it seems as if whatever is presented in front of him, they're gonna make that thing work out no matter what.
Anthony?
2 Super Bowl appearances. My bad.
Yeah, you know what? Dub got both right because Sean McVay is so far, right? Kyle as a head coach, right? Because I'm not looking at what he did as a coordinator. We're talking about what you did as a head coach. And as a head coach, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, and you got Sean McVay, who right now holds the lead. Now, there's still time. Matt LaFleur is really young. Kyle Shanahan's really young. So, but if we're looking at it as of today, who's accomplished the most as a head coach? I think Kyle Shanahan has started in 2017, right? So 4 years. Sean McVay too, and he's still in a position. We're talking about it today, but we could be talking about this next week. Sean McVay being 1 for 1 in the Super Bowl, and then he's easily ahead of both LaFleur and Shanahan. Because listen, how do we rank coaches? Wins, Super Bowls. That's what we do. So yeah, I think Sean McVay definitely has the lead so far.
OJ?
I actually disagree, man, for two main reasons, and I'm not disagreeing just for the sake of disagreeing. Number one, I think Sean McVay has had way better weapons to work with. I mean, he's had arguably, you mentioned, I don't know, I think it was Dove that, no, I don't know. One of you guys mentioned that they have two current eventual Hall of Famers, and I agree with that, right? But right now, he's had the luxury of having arguably the best defensive player that's ever played the game in Aaron Donald, right? So he definitely has had the luxury of better talent, whereas Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, not so much. But we've seen Kyle Shanahan show us the best version of Matt Ryan, right? And we've seen what he's done in San Francisco, despite sort of the incompetence of Garoppolo. No offense, Garoppolo and 49ers fans, right? So, but the main reason I have him better is because guess what? Kyle Shanahan usually gets the better of Sean McVay. He outcoaches him every single time. And usually Sean McVay has the better team. He still manages to outcoach him. And so to me, at the end of the day, he's consistently done more with less, or just as much, but with less. So for those reasons, I'm going to give the nod to Kyle Shanahan.
Matt, finish us off with your thoughts.
So I think it's tough because you have three guys and they've all been in a lot of different situations. Matt LaFleur, I think we can take him out of the conversation because he's had the best quarterback for the longest time and he hasn't got it done. He's lost to both these teams. So I think it's tough to put Matt LaFleur there. If we're looking at who's accomplished more this far, Sean McVay has accomplished more, but I'm expecting Kyle Shanahan to go down as the better coach. If we're going to look back on the Super Bowl and just solely blame that on Kyle Shanahan, I don't think he was – I mean, Dan Quinn was the head coach and also the defensive coordinator, and he allowed 31 points in the second half. But, of course, it's Kyle Shanahan's fault, even though they did score 28 points in the Super Bowl. And I get these arguments. It happens to all play callers. But people used to say the same thing about Andy Reid because Andy Reid lost a bunch of NFC championship games. He won his one Super Bowl, and that's almost kind of forgotten now. So I think it's really hard to tell that early on. Now, for Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, this is the first year one of them has had an elite quarterback, and he went to the Super Bowl. The expectations were to go to the Super Bowl. He's met those expectations. So props to him 100%, but it is way too early to tell because Kyle hasn't even got a guy. OJ, you brought it up. He had Jimmy Garoppolo. taking Jimmy Garoppolo to NFC Championship game 2 times in a row is probably more impressive than going to the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. Because, come on, like we've watched this dude in prime time. We've seen him in the fourth quarter of playoff games. It is abysmal. So I think it's still to be determined.
The only person with an elite quarterback, just to be for the record, is Matt LaFleur with an elite quarterback. But of the 3 quarterbacks, just in case I need an extra point, Sean McVay is the only one that has a winning record in the regular season and the playoffs. Neither one of those other 2 guys can say that.
Cutting in will never get you an extra point,
Oh,
but it's not going to cost you any either.
Oh, thank you.
But no bonus points for that. Matt, OJ, I liked that you guys brought in the talent. That's what I was looking for on that question there. You guys answered real strong there that second round. Anthony and Jay, I like that you actually brought Sean McVay into that conversation. I was kind of dangling that carrot when I name dropped him, was hoping somebody would jump on it. So a really strong round from everybody. Anthony, Jay, you guys are moving on. OJ, Matt, I've got a question for you guys to get to the next round. Since the year 2000 in the NBA, who has been the worst team to make it to the NBA Finals? OJ, I'll hear from you first.
Oh, a layup.
Well, I'm gonna have a major advantage on this because I already know what your answer is. I'm gonna have to go with the New Jersey Nets, man. Didn't have any guy, I believe, score over 20 points, average more than 20 points. Not one guy on that roster. They had a super young team. And you know what? A lot of people love to say the 76ers, but they fail to remember the 76ers had the defensive player of the year. They had Aaron McKee coming off the bench as the sixth man of the year. They had Larry Brown as the coach of the year. So it's definitely not the 76ers. It's not the 2004 Pistons team. They had arguably one of the greatest defenses of all time. So when you compile all the teams that we consider inferior, you're left with that Nets team.
Matt, who are you rolling with?
So I have seen that you've been getting very angry at people on TikTok about some of these takes. I think someone brought up the Bulls. I think that was one that I saw. Something ridiculous.
Well, that was sarcastic in the least. Nobody's saying the Bulls were a bad finals team.
I think that if you're going for, which is the worst team, least star power, you don't have the top-end guys, you go with the Nets. But I do get the argument for teams like the Sixers and the 07 Cavs just because, okay, it's one guy that's running the show. I'm still going to go with the Nets just because OJ brought it up. You don't have a guy score 20 points. You don't have a guy to take over a game. And in playoff basketball, that means so much. So I do side with where both of you guys are at. But I do get the argument. If you're talking, okay, what's the worst talent overall? Sure, you can go with maybe the Cavs, maybe the Sixers. But if you have an AI or a LeBron, I would rather rock with those teams in the finals, even if the talent around them isn't quite there.
Matt, I would have loved to hear you stick to a team and defend the point. So you're kind of jumping on where your answer was. Gentlemen, disappointing final round, by the way. If you're going to say what I say, you got to say it right. It was 15 points per game, gentlemen. They didn't have anybody averaging 15 points per game.
Less than 20, technically, I was
right. They did. Richard Jefferson and Kenyon Martin both averaged over 15 points a game. And that was in 2003, the lowest scoring year in the history of the NBA.
You're starting next round with a negative point here.
Five negative points because that's terrible. That's a terrible take.
And then you didn't even mention the depoy. You were naming all the awards. Dikembe Mutombo was there winning defensive player.
Yes,
too.
I was going to get to that.
OJ, you're moving on. Matt,
I mentioned that.
Well done. You guys fought really good this first round. We are moving on to round 2. NBA trade season has been happening. The Blazers made a huge move with McCollum heading to New Orleans. They got a small package back, including some draft picks. We've had the big move between the Kings and the Pacers with Sabonis and Halliburton and Hield. Guys, what has been the biggest and best move for a team so far in this NBA free agency? Anthony, let's hear from you first.
You know, it's funny. I really don't like almost all of these trades that they've made. I will say I feel bad for the Trailblazers, who are clearly just kind of cleaning house and starting over, which is scary to rebuild. But I think for the long term, man, I want to say it's the Kings. Man, this is so hard because they're all bad, right? At first, I thought CJ McCollum right, for next year when Zion gets back and Ingram, that's probably going to be the best team. So you know what? Let me go with them. Let me go with them. I'll go with them because they've got Zion coming back next. No, I can't even do that. No, I'm gonna go with the Kings. The Kings got some bonus, even though I can't because they're all bad. They're all bad trades. So let's go with that. I think Sabonis is probably the best player in all these trades, kind of long term. He's young. The Kings now, I guess they have faith in De'Aaron Fox. That's why they got rid of Tyrese to make room in that backcourt. They wanted to match De'Aaron Fox with a big in Sabonis. So I think they've probably got the best package. But like I said, I don't like any of the trades that have been made so far. So I know that's a terrible answer, but that's the facts. Like I've said this before. I think a 12-year-old kid on 2K has been making trades for NBA teams so far.
Yeah. Well, you finished off on a correct point there. The fact is that was a poor answer, and you said it yourself. Guys, OJ, Jay, you guys got a wide open door. Just eliminated that for wish-washing. Get some convictions, fellas. Let's bring it home strong.
You said there's no good trades or all been bad trade. Excuse me, it's called put some respect on Caris LeVert. And here's the why that trade has been the best trade in the entire NBA. Because when I hear that question, for me, I automatically go to which trade is going to impact a winning team the most so they could make somewhat of a deep finals run. And to me, that's the Cavs. You already have Darius Garland, right? First time NBA also. He's having the best season of his career. You have Evan Mobley, who's been playing fantastic. As a team, the Cavaliers, I think it's safe to say they're surprising everybody. And so to add a Caris LeVert to get very good, consistent perimeter shooting, another guy that can create on his own, I think that's an excellent trade. They're definitely going to make the playoffs, and they could actually make somewhat of some noise in the playoffs. I don't know how deep they're going to get, but it's an excellent trade for a team that's trending in the right direction, not for a team like the Kings that have zero direction, or the Pelicans that got that fatty over there. We don't know when he's gonna get healthy, but a good team that's gonna be in
Krispy Kreme.
His name.
Jeff, I'd like to change my answer. That's really good.
Yeah, takes these back seats. I like what.
Oh man,
Jay, what have you seen in this trade season?
To be honest, and you guys may call me crazy for this, but it is what it is. I think the Portland Trailblazers probably did the right thing and the best thing for both parties. They came to an understanding that this team is not going to win a championship, and this team is not going to go anywhere with Damian Lillard. And the fact that they made all of these moves to clear house, to clear cap space, I know all the reports are saying, oh, they're making room to build around Damian Lillard. To be honest, I don't believe that. I don't think Damian Lillard is willing to sit for another year to rebuild, or he's not doing any of that. I believe that Damian Lillard throughout the offseason, he's going to leave, and honestly, this is the right thing to do. The Portland Trailblazers, let's keep it real, they've been a good playoff team, but that's all they have been. They haven't been championship contenders at all. They've just been very good. So it's time to move on from McCollum, move on from all them guys, let their talents grow, let them talents flourish, and let them restart. And please let Dame go. That's what I'm wish. Please let Dame go. I do not believe the reports in saying they're keeping Dame. I do not believe it at all.
I say let's rebuild for Dame and make Portland great again.
I appreciate that. You guys are barking up the right tree. I like the finish of this segment here. The Blaze, I think it's all about what Dame wants. Every time I hear Dame speak on the matter, he wants to stay. I've never heard him say anything different. So it's his choice. I've got no problem with him going. He's earned the right if he wants to go pursue a championship elsewhere, because it's really obvious the Blazers have not got it done. So in this round, gentlemen, Anthony will be sending you home. Jay, OJ, you guys are in the showdown. We got our final question of the night. We hit on him a little bit as we talked about the 49ers. The best landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo. He gets harshed on pretty good, but he wins football games. We've got Jets, Broncos, Saints, Steelers, Washington, or maybe somebody else. OJ.
You know what's crazy? The best landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm going to just throw this out there. As a Bucs fan, I would absolutely hate to have Jimmy Garoppolo because it wouldn't be good for the Bucs. But for Jimmy Garoppolo, it would be very good. He needs two things to thrive, right? Two things Jimmy Garoppolo needs. He needs decent weapons on offense and a pretty good running game. to mask some of his offensive deficiencies. And he needs a pretty good defense that should he take the lead that can sort of, hold the opposing team back into where they're not scoring a lot of things. And I think the things that he needs to thrive, Tampa Bay currently has. And so, but if those teams don't have those things, particularly a good defense, a pretty good defense, and you're going to count on Jimmy Garoppolo to get the job done and to win you games, good luck with that. That's not happening. He hasn't proved that he can do that on a consistent basis. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers, weapons, decent coaching, good defense. We don't want them.
Okay. Jay, do you have a different landing spot for Jimmy G?
I'm surprised OJ didn't say this. It's the Tennessee Titans. He actually hit on some of the points that I was going to say, that Jimmy G, if you give him a great running game, that's exactly what he can do. And he'll show you exactly what to do. If you have a Derrick Henry on that thing to carry the load for the running game to mask his offensive deficiencies, weapons like A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, the Tennessee Titans, bro, was a great team. And the way that defense stepped up last year towards the end of the season was amazing. I did not expect that from them. So you're giving Jimmy Garoppolo a great defense, a great running game, and some weapons. I'm sorry, he's already proven that with a great running game and a great defense, he can make it to the Super Bowl. So the best landing spot for him is the Tennessee Titans, and it's not even a question. It's not even up for debate.
Is he better than Ryan Tannehill right now?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Ryan Tannehill is not that guy. He's not that guy.
Wow.
Not that guy. More belief in Jimmy G than Ryan Tannehill.
Wow.
Hey, you guys nailed it. Great answers. I wasn't really thinking about either of those two teams. Tampa Bay should have come to mind, but hey, I wasn't answering questions. I was asking them. So good answers by you guys tonight. I need some input from my guys who have been eliminated from the show already. Matt, who would you roll with here?
For this round, I'm going to have to rock with OJ. Last round, I thought Jay won.
I can appreciate that. Fluent.
I didn't even think of Tennessee. And so I'm actually going to go with Jay because you know what? He's right. Jimmy Garoppolo, all he does, if you look, all he does is win. You might not like the way he plays. You might not like the things he does. But when he has a running game, they go to the Super Bowl. Go look. They go to the conference championship every time he's healthy. So, go Jimmy G.
As expected, no help at all. Thanks, fellas.
I have a quick question. How would the Titans get rid of Tannehill, though?
I'm sure someone would take him in a trade.
Tannehill's a starter.
What about Mythical? Mythical, does Mythical, if Mythical's still watching, do you have? This is our eyes in the sky. If Mythical's watching, he should give us.
At best, Garoppolo. If
he's got Jay or OJ.
I'll give it a 3 seconds for Mythical if he wants to throw a name on the board. I'll go with it if he says it. But I got my winner decided.
All right.
This guy talked good. He talked good all night, I think, because he did a little stronger in the earlier rounds. OJ, I crown thee king of the night.
Wow. That is crazy.
I really think this was Dubs, man. All right, OJ.
I really thought it was mine, too.
Yeah, so I actually did not have, since I've been eliminated literally the past 3 weeks, I guess my confidence has been low. I didn't think I'd win, but since I win, I'll take the opportunity to rag on Dub real quick for his last answer. Like, really, Ryan Tannehill? You honestly think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Ryan Tannehill? At the very least, it's a push. And so then now all you're doing is making a lateral move. I mean, would you ever get a job for a pay decrease or the same amount? Like, why would you want to go to another job and get paid the same? And you don't know the people. You're going to have to deal with HR all over, dealing with the benefits all over again and all this other stuff. And like get to know people. No, it's just it's not wise. It's not smart. It's not prudent. And that's what you're saying by saying Garoppolo would be, like, in Tennessee would never go for that because he's simply not better than Ryan Tannehill. And that's not even saying much because Ryan Tannehill, as far as I'm concerned, I don't even know he's top 10. Maybe he cracks the list. So that's really what did you in, Dub. Hopefully you learn your lesson. You make better decisions next week.
Yo, can I rebuttal that? You
can absolutely you know what? Listen, all you have to say is this. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to throw 3 interceptions like Ryan Tannehill will.
Fluent, I don't know what it is today, but we're right
here,
bro.
When you're drunk, you're smart. When you're drunk, you're smart.
We're right here, bro. Like, bro,
hold on, let me test that theory. Is Patrick Mahomes a top 5 running quarterback all time?
Yo, you better stop playing with me, bro. Number one, I'm not getting to that. He beat Aaron
he's
Rodgers,
smart. He's staying
bro.
off that topic. You're
He
right.
beat
You're right,
Aaron
Doug.
Rodgers,
You're right,
bro.
You're right.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here, folks. Thanks for joining us on Table for One. OJ will be our host next week. Come back next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern.